So, I want to take you back in time to an age when you were learning to tie your shoes. You were probably 5 years old or so, and maybe you decided it was time, or maybe someone told you it was time to learn. Think about your first attempts. It was probably a jumbled mess. You probably had no idea what you were doing, but you'd probably seen others do it before you, and they were so quick too. Maybe you had a zest of excitement about you the first few times that you tried, but then the excitement dwindled as you realized it's a lot harder than it looks. And other people, when you watch them, they made it seem so simple. But you were coming no closer to success. And so maybe your frustration increased the more times you tried and failed. You probably had someone who slowed down the process and said something about a rabbit going around a tree and into a hole. How long did it take you to learn to tie your shoe? How many times did you try before you fully succeeded? I'm betting that you probably had some minor successes along the way. Like when you finally looped that rabbit around the tree correctly for the first time, or when you saw the hole he was supposed to go into. Man, that was exciting. I remember going round and round and like, where's this hole? Or when you had pulled through the second loop, but it was nothing tight enough to actually keep the shoe on your foot. I'm betting it was probably an emotional roller coaster as a toddler for a few days or weeks, which in a toddler's mind feels like years. Bouts of anger and frustration, followed by determination and eagerness, with like a glimmer of hope that you will actually learn to tie your shoes. Yeah, oh man, so glad that I know how to tie my shoes now and I'm not going through that anymore. But why would I want to take you back in time today? Well, honestly, because it's a lesson I've needed for myself. I'm not sure why the specific memory of learning to tie my shoes is the one that has continued to pop up over the last few weeks. It could very easily be substituted with learning to ride a bike or learning to float in water, which, by the way, I've never actually mastered. I mean, it really could be substituted with learning anything when we were young. Very rarely did we get it right on the first time. Excuse me. Or really the first 100 times. It required a whole bucket of character traits that for some reason we tend to leave in childhood rather than carrying with us into adulthood. As adults, when we come to a challenge, rather than pushing through the frustration and feelings of defeat, it has become much easier to just give up altogether. We've equated failing at something to meaning that we have failed as a person. Not true. What we do, or don't do for that matter, once or twice does not equate to who we are. How can we get it right if we don't know how to do it wrong? So, I've always said that I don't have any regrets because there's always been a lesson in every situation. And as the shoe tying memories have re entered my reflections over and over lately, I've realized that this extends to failure too. I need to, like many of you too, I need to reframe my failure. Instead of being resistant to pull out determination and doggedness when something becomes challenging, We need to reframe our thoughts on the temporary outcomes as we step closer to success. Just like with regret, is it failure if you've actually learned a lesson so you can do better next time? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And also, I'd love to hear about what you've given up on as an adult that you want to tackle again with a renewed determination. I hope that this gave you something to think about, and you all have a great weekend. Mwah.